Good day, everyone. It's another day and another lesson to learn. Welcome to another session of V's class. In this video, we're going to discuss about measures of position and group data. At the end of the video, you will be able to identify the statistical tools of measures of position, solve problems involving measures of position, and interpret the result of the computed values. Measures of position. Measures of position give us a way to see where a certain data point or value falls in a sample or distribution. A measure can tell us whether a value is about the average or whether it is unusually high or low. Measures of position are used for quantitative data that falls on some numerical scales. In other words, measures of position is locating the position of the students in the classroom. Example: Student A is part of the upper group, while Student B is part of the lower group. Take note, class, that there are actually three measures of position: quartile, decile, and percentile. Let's start with quartile. The quartiles of a dataset divide the data into four equal parts, with 1/4 of the data values in each part. The second quartile position is the median of the dataset, which divides the dataset into half. Take note that the quartile will divide the class into four equal parts: quartile 1, 2, and 3. And these quartiles correspond to a percentage: quartile 1, 25%, quartile 2, 50%, quartile 3, 75%. For example, if you are tasked to identify quartile 2, in this case, the class will be divided into two equal parts: the upper 50% of the class and the lower 50% of the class. It is 50%, it's because the corresponding percentage of quartile 2 is 50%. Another: if you are tasked to identify quartile 3, in this case, the class will be divided into two parts: the upper 25% of the class, while the lower 75% of the class. Take note, it is 75%. It's because quartile 3 corresponds to 75%. This is also similar to the other quartiles. Let's have an example. The average student score in math class for each of the 7 sections in the HDC was 28, 23, 21, 20, 38, 31, 58. Find the values of the second and third. Let's start for the first problem. Find the values of the second quartile. We will be guided through the formula. Q sub k is equal to kn divided by 4, where k is the position and n is the number of cases. There are also 4 easy steps. Step 1, arrange the scores. Step 2, substitute. Step 3, find the position. And step 4, interpret the results. Step 1, arrange the scores. In this case, we're going to arrange the scores in logical manner. That is 20, 21, 23, 28, 31, 38, 58. Therefore, n is equal to 7. Next is, we will substitute it to the given formula. Take note that the formula is Q sub k is equal to km divided by 4. Take note, we're looking for quartile 2. In that case, that's Q sub 2 is equal to 2 times 7 divided by 4. In that case, Q sub 2 is equal to 3.5. This is not the position, but we need to round it off to the next whole number. So in that case, this is now approximately 4. Therefore, Q2 is in the 4th position. So since you were able to locate already the fourth position, I mean the second quartile, we are now going to count the fourth position. 1, 2, 3, 4. Therefore, if you're going to count it, our Q sub 2 is 28. In this case, class, we have to interpret the result since it's quartile 2. Therefore, we divide the class into two equal parts. Since quartile 2 is 28, then if your score is greater than 28, you belong to 50% upper of the class or upper 50% of the class. But if your score is less than 28, then you belong to the lower 50% of the class. Let's proceed to the next example. Find the third quartile. We will be following the same steps. In that case, we will arrange the scores. That is 20, 21, 23, 28, 31, 38, 58, where still n is equal to 7. Then substitute the given formula, q sub k is equal to kn over 4. Therefore, q sub 2 is equal to, we're looking for the third quartile. Therefore, 3 times 7 divided by 4, which gives you 21 divided by 4. And that is equal to 5.25. Same thing, class. We have to round it off to the nearest whole number. Therefore, we're looking for the fifth position. In that case, we are just going to count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Since this is the fifth position, therefore, the third quartile is 5. So, the third quartile is in the fifth position. Therefore, the third quartile is 31. In that case, class, since we are looking for the third quartile, this is third quartile. And take note, quartile 3 is equal to 75%. That's why the remaining percentage is 25%. In that case, lower 75% of the class and upper 25% of the class. If your score is greater than 31, then you belong to upper 25% of the class. But if your score is equal or less than to 31, then you belong to the 75% lower of the class, or lower 75% of the class. Let's move forward. Let's go to decile. Deciles divide a dataset into 10 equal parts. One example of the use of decile is in school awards or ranking. Take note that the decile would divide a class into 10 equal parts, D1, D2, D3, and so on and so forth. These deciles correspond to a percentage. Since it is a decile, the range is in every 10. Therefore, D1, 10%, D2, 20%, D3, 30%, D4, 40%, D5, 50%, and so on and so forth. Example, if you are tasked to identify decile 6, since decile 6 is equivalent to 60%, then the class will be divided into parts. The lower 60% of the class and the upper 40% of the class. Again, our basis is its equivalent percentage. Another example, you are tasked to identify decile 3. And since decile 3 is equivalent to 30%, then the class will be divided into parts. The lower 30% of the class and the upper 70% of the class to make it 100 in all. This is also similar to the other decils. Let's have an example. The average student score in math class for each of the 7 sections in HCDC was 28, 23, 21, 20, 38, 31, and 58. Find the values of 5th and 3rd decile. Again, we're going to start looking for the 7th decile. Take note, class, that the formula this time is d sub k is equal to kn divided by 10. 10 is because we divide the class per 10. So let's start. Step 1, arrange the scores. 20, 21, 23, 28, 31, 38, 58, where n is equal to 7. Substitute to the formula, d sub k is equal to kn over 10. Again, it's d sub 7 is equal to 7 times 7 divided by 10, which would give you 49 divided by 10, which is equal to 4.9. Take note, round it off to the nearest whole number. 4.9 is now 5. Therefore, we'll look for the 5th position. So count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 31 is the 5th position. Therefore, the 7th decile is 31. In that case, if we have a line and decile 7 is somewhere here, then we divide the class into parts. This one is the lower 70% of the class, and the remaining is the upper 30% of the class to make it 100. Therefore, if your score is greater than 31, then you belong to the upper 30% of the class. But if your score is equal or less than 31, then you belong to the 70% of the class, lower 70% of the class. Another one, same given, but we are going to look for the 3rd decile. Same step. Step number 1, arrange the scores. 20, 21, 23, 28, 31, 38, 58. Substitute to the given formula. We look for d sub 3 is equal to 3 times 7. Take note that n is equal to 7 divided by 10, which gives you 21 divided by 10 is equal to 2.1. Therefore, we will round it off to the nearest whole number that's equal to 2. Therefore, the 3rd decile is in 2nd position. So we'll count it. 1, 2, 1, 2. Therefore, 21 is the 3rd decile. So to do that one, let's have your line, and then this is D2. I mean D3. We're looking for D3. In that case, we'll divide the class now. 30% lower, 70% upper. Therefore, lower 30% if your score is less than or equal to 21, and if your score is greater than 21, therefore you belong to the upper 70% of the class. Let's go to percentile. Percentile divides the data into 100 equal parts. One example of the use of percentile is in school awards or rankings. Take note that the percentile will divide the class into 100 equal parts, P1, P2, P3, and so on and so forth. This percentile corresponds to a percentage. Since it is percentile, The range is in every 1. Therefore, P1, 1%, P2, 2%, P3, 3%, P4, 4%, and so on and so forth. Example, if you're tasked to identify percentile 73, therefore, since it's 73 and 73 is automatically equal to 73%, then this one is the lower 73% of the class, while the remaining percent is the upper. Okay, so 73 minus 100 is 27%. So 27% upper, 73% lower. Okay, another example. You are tasked to identify the percentile 45. Since 45 is equivalent to 45%, then the class will divide it into parts. The lower 45% of the class and the upper 55% of the class. It is also the same to the other percentiles. Let's have an example. The given example are just the same. Let's just find the values of 67th percentile. This time class, the formula is different. P sub k is equal to kn divided by 100. 100, it's because it's percentile divided into 100. Step 1. Arrange the scores. This would be 20, 21, 23, 28, 31, 38, 58. N is equal to 7. Then substitute the formula, P sub k is equal to kn over 100. Our k is 67. So pk is equal to 67 times 7 divided by 100. Take note, this is P7. P67. So P67 would give you 4.69. And round it off, take note, round it off. Therefore, this is equal to 5. Therefore, 67th percentile is into the 5th position. In that case, we will count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 31. Therefore, 31 is the 67th percentile. So in that case, if this is your line and it is 67th percentile, it's somewhere here. Therefore, you will be able to divide the class into 67%, while the remaining is the 33%. So again, lower 67% and upper 33%. Therefore, if your score is greater than 31, then you belong to the upper 33% of the class. But if your score is equal or less than 31, then you belong to the lower 67% of the class. So the relationship of quartile, decile, and percentile are this. Quartile 1 is just the same to decile 2.5, and it is just equal to percentile 25, and so on and so forth. Now, try this one and we will answer it together in the classroom. The average student grade in the science class for each section in a certain school was 85, 79, 88, 91, 80, 92, 72. Find the values of the 3rd quartile, 40th quartile, 7th percentile. Then interpret the results. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.